This podcast is supported by The RealReal. Meet Christine. She loves shopping. And this is the sound of fashion overload. Too many fabulous things, not enough space. So Christine started selling with The RealReal.
I've always loved collecting designer pieces. Gucci bags, Prada heels. But my style keeps evolving. Selling with The RealReal? Game changer. I earn more, and they do everything.
Seriously, just drop off your items or schedule a pickup. We handle the photos, descriptions, pricing, even shipping. You just sit back and watch your items sell fast to our 40 million members.
And I get peace of mind knowing I earn more selling with The RealReal than anywhere else.
Exactly. That's the sound of your closet working for you. The RealReal. Earn more, save time, sell fast. And right now, you can get an extra $100 to shop when you sell for the first time. Go to TheRealReal.com to get your extra $100. TheRealReal.com. That's TheRealReal.com.
Always follow the money.
That's what I always say. You always follow the money.
Yeah.
This is Follow the Money with Mitch Moss and Paulie Howard on VSiN.
Here we go. It is Follow the Money on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. Mitch Moss along with Paulie Howard. We are live in Las Vegas from the Circa Resort and Casino. We have a 3-hour banger lined up today. Great guests on the program. Nick Whalen coming up in 30 minutes. Super Bowl reaction with him. A couple of best bets tonight in the association. Drew Butler, former kicker, played at Georgia, kicked in the league as well. I wonder who he thought should have won the MVP of the Super Bowl yesterday. We'll get his thoughts on the game. Warren Sharp's reaction. Patrick Everson, who has covered sports betting across Las Vegas for many, many years, does so in great fashion. We'll get a Super Bowl betting recap from him a little bit later on. Tonight's Hoops card is very good. Some super strong matchups that we have on their hardwood that we're going to get to several times. We have Do You Concur? And, of course, we're going to spend plenty of time recapping what took place yesterday, Paulie, and it turned out to be a lopsided Super Bowl. I get it. Like, most of the reaction has been, well, that game sucked, and it was a total mismatch. I would say it did not suck until, like, the third quarter. I thought it was pretty dramatic in the first half based on, again, we said this the other day, like, now it was never 10-10, but 10-10 can be the same thing as, like, 31-28 in the fourth quarter. Well, when it's like 6-0 and 9-0, it's like, and the Seahawks defense is playing that out of their minds. It's like, it's pretty impressive, man. And the Patriots defense did not allow a touchdown. You're like, I'm intrigued. 9-0, 12-0. Like, how do they adjust at halftime? And then after halftime on the field, it just turned into when Drake May threw that one INT. It's like, okay, that was fun while it lasted. It's curtains, and Seattle turned out to be an absolute monster this year.
Well, they that was a misleading score. They could have blown them out. Sam missed a lot of throws. 2 to JSN, including the big one early on that would have made it 10-0. But the Patriots finally played a good team, and you saw what happened. And schedule matters. So it looked too easy going in, but it was. You know, I thought it was a terrible Super Bowl until the fourth quarter. It was unfortunate to go out that way, but it was a tough watch. But what they did to dominate defensively and how bad Will Campbell was, we talked about that all week. The pressure rate that he allowed, and we said all week Seattle gets pressure without blitzing. And that's what they did with the front four and how they wreaked havoc, and May was atrocious. You know, Dr. Chow nailed this about, I think he's hurt, there's something wrong. May says, I'm fine, but he has the painkiller, the shot before the game. 51 yards at halftime, 4 first downs, and you have 70 yards in their first 10 drives. Just incredible what Seattle did.
That's why I loved it. I mean, I completely could not get enough of what the Seahawks were doing on one side of the football, meaning defense. And it was just like, okay, this is an all-time performance, which it turned out to be, and more on that coming up. But here is, you brought him up, Will Campbell. According to Next Gen Stats, they attributed 14 quarterback pressures to him. The most pressures allowed by any player in a game this entire season. That includes the playoffs. So we kicked this around in the last 2 weeks. Maybe the Seahawks only had something called a Rams problem, and I think that turned out to be true. They allowed 28 points per game to the Rams in their matchups, 14.1 to everybody else.
No doubt. Yeah, I know you tweeted it as well. The MVP lit them up. May was a mess. Stafford scored 37 and 27 in the 2 games in Seattle. The other thing to help out Patriot fans, this was a great team. They went 17-3. They lost 3 games by a combined 9 points. They're the first team ever to win the Super Bowl and not turn the ball over in the playoffs. Sam Darnold. How about that?
Yep.
So they were an unbelievable team with a great defense, and they still made it work with JSN coming in and out of the lineup there. Walker was a beast. You lose Charbonnet, doesn't matter. Here's some Barner. Kubiak was great. Defense took over, and an all-time team as far as I'm concerned. 17-3, a 2-point loss at L.A., a 3-point loss at home when Mayfield played out of his mind, and they lost week 1 at home to San Francisco. They were inside the San Francisco red zone when Darnold fumbled.
Mm-hmm. So I can say this, I can't prove it. It's all based on the schedule by the Patriots. Again, easiest schedule going back to, 1979? Whatever it is, one of the third easiest since 1979, easiest overall since 1999. It's pretty simple to me, with a more difficult schedule. I would actually say this, with an average SOS, the Patriots don't even make the playoffs this year. And if they had a difficult SOS, like, for example, if this team played in the NFC West, they would have stayed under their win total. And they turned out to be completely fugazi at the end of the day. And playing all those weak quarterbacks, coaches that got fired, came back to bite him in the hind end. And May was in the MVP running because he played a lot of terrible defenses on top of it. And, I mean, it was a runaway with the awards last Thursday night. And what should have been a very hotly contested awards market never was. It was lopsided towards Vrabel. I thought the guy was absolutely horrendous in the game yesterday.
They got out-coached big time.
It was total domination by McDonald and company, and he lost his mind a couple of times. And how much of the, again, great job, guys. You beat who was in front of you. You can't take that away from you. But to run away with the coach of the year playing that schedule, I had a major problem when they announced it live, and you can't do anything about it now. I get that. But maybe people should think about that a little bit more next time. That's all I'm saying. 3 turnovers by Seattle, 6 sacks, defensive touchdown overall. I don't know if the play calling was a big problem.
Yes, it was.
But overall,
you thought McDaniels was terrible.
Yeah, but he was
terrible in that game.
So I don't disagree, but also Seattle's defense absolutely dominated them. But down 12-0 third quarter, how do you come out of halftime and punt 4th and 1? That's a disgusting decision out of Mike Vrabel. And then what made it worse, they scored to make it 19-6. He kicks the PAT.
That was bad.
A third grader right now can do the math on that.
That was bad. It didn't make any sense. It's the second time he's done that in the playoffs, too. And then you had that 9-yard run from Henderson with a little creativity, and you never went back to that. You abandoned the run early. You didn't give the backs enough carries. You didn't give Stevenson a lot of touches. And you continue to put this guy in 3rd and long, and they can pin their ears back. And we also said how important the first half was because the Patriots hadn't trailed at halftime since week 3. And then to be shut out and come back, and that's a horrible position to be in as well, where Seattle could just unleash hell and send everybody and just go after and expose Campbell. It's one thing to play bad. You also have to face the music. He didn't talk to the media after the game and wouldn't say anything, which made it look worse too. But no creativity, no imagination, a flea flicker, something. Some dump-offs to Henderson, some screens, not enough there. But still, it's 19-7, 9 minutes left, and they're near midfield, and then he just throws the horrific interception.
Yep.
Where Collinsworth, Mike, I got nothing. The throw was that bad. He goes, I don't know what he's looking at. That's a terrible throw. So everything that went wrong, they had the nice drive finally, a minute score. You hit Hollins, it's 19-7, and you have a chance there. But you're right. It should be at least you got to go for 2. You take the field goal out at that point. It was stupid. But horrible decision with the interception, and that was all she wrote.
Congrats to everybody who made the case over the last 2 weeks to bet Seattle Seahawks on alt numbers. That was, again, some of the most popular bets at various sports books leading into the game. And if you go back to Championship Game Sunday, I hate myself. This is a lesson learned because watching the AFC title game, and I said this on the air on the next edition of this program, while New England and Denver were in a battle to the first person to 10 to win the game, I thought they're going to get absolutely killed by the winner of the NFC game. And that was my initial thought. And by Monday, by the time it came and rolled around, I said it's going to go one of 2 ways. I think it's Patriots going to win a close game or the Seahawks blow them out. And too many people, to me, I paid too much attention to what everybody was saying. And everybody was on the same side, and that scared me off Seattle more than anything else. So that cost me. Because I had Patriots money line in the game.
Well, 4.5 turned out to be a gift.
Yeah, it really was.
Who's kicking themselves today, big time? No doubt Denver. It's not your fault, but you lose Bo Nix. And I think Houston. And C.J. Stroud. I mean, imagine a Houston-Seattle Super Bowl. But I think Houston, because I know Dalton Schultz made comments about how much it stings, that they thought they were one of the best teams in the league and they'd won 10 in a row.
Yeah,
but you just got atrocious quarterback play.
Watching that game play out like it did last night, it made my Rams futures feel even that much sicker to me.
That too. Special teams, yeah. Just
right.
fix the special. That is incredible. That stat and what you read, that they allowed 14 points to everyone not named the Rams, and the Rams doubled that.
Yep.
That shows you how good they are.
No doubt. There's also this, Paulie. Let's flip it for a second. Back to my whole, the Patriots turned out to be completely fugazi, and if they had a more difficult schedule, they were not a playoff team. I would say this. Let's pretend for a second that the quarterback situations were flipped in their path to the Super Bowl, meaning that C.J. Stroud was a quarterback who got hurt and Bo Nix was not. I don't think the Patriots get by Davis Mills and the Texans, and if they do, the way that game played out in Denver, I'm sorry, there's no way, no how they come out of that game victorious.
No.
They're not in the Super Bowl if those situations are flipped. I'm very confident in saying that. But again, they have to beat the teams in front of them. It was a great ride. They will be absolute fade material probably next year with like a win total. Maybe to miss the playoffs as well. They're going to have a first-place schedule. Defense is really good. But as a guy who I have said now this many times on the air, I'm quite confident Drake May is going to be stud over the next 10 years. I'm not going to take that back. He was pretty bad in the playoffs against good defenses.
Yeah.
And he did not play many of those at all in the regular season.
Yep. Also, don't say it's okay to take a sack, but you keep turning the ball over. I mean, on the pick six, it's like just take the sack, throw it away. You know, that was a bad decision as well. The interception, horrible. The fumble. You know, that guy, he's like Dave Craig out there. Takes a hit, the ball comes out.
Dave Craig.
Got to hang on to the ball with all the fumbles. They'll fix the offensive line. They still have a great coach. Defense is filthy.
Well, what do you do about Campbell moving forward?
I know. They had a problem. That is a problem.
I would say so.
But I will say Gonzalez is phenomenal.
Oh, my God.
Now, he gets hurt a lot, but what he did on JSN, he got helped out. Darnold had him for wide open, missed him, had him for another touchdown, underthrew it. But Gonzalez, to contain JSN like that, beautiful job by Gonzalez.
What is the level of athleticism we're talking about there in some of those pass deflections? I mean, he's just completely outstretched, flying in the air like this, and bam, gets his fingers on it multiple times. Like, that is so impressive out of him.
Well, how about Seattle doesn't get anything out of them, and they still win going away?
We'll look at the odds board to win the 2027 Super Bowl coming up next. Someone here at VSiN has a story up on the website. Made the case for a 60 and 100 to 1 shot. I'll tell you who next.
So you're listening to this podcast because you want an edge. But what if I told you you're only halfway there? You've got the mindset. Now it's time to get the toolkit to match. Here's the thing. Pro bettors spend thousands on data and tools, but what they don't want you to know is you can get the same edge for a fraction of the cost with VSiN Pro. With VSiN Pro, you get access to expert picks, public betting data, prop projections, powerful tools, analytics, and more. Tap the link in the description and see why thousands of bettors are already using VSiN Pro to cash more bets.
That's what I always say. You always follow the money.
Yeah.
This is Follow the Money with Mitch Moss and Paulie Howard on VSiN.
Welcome in. Thanks for watching. As always on YouTube TV, listening on SiriusXM channel 158, iHeartRadio, TuneIn Radio, or any of our great affiliates from coast to coast. A busy hour coming up. We'll get into a very fun hoops card in 15 minutes. Warren Sharp on the program, bottom of the hour. Paulie, we're an hour deep into this program. We have not talked about the MVP yet. Did you have a problem with the voting and who got it yesterday?
No, I thought it had to be Walker.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's bring on, we thought it'd be a great time to bring on longtime friend of the show and a guy who actually did kick, very high level, Georgia Bulldogs in the league as well, now part of the Punt and Pass podcast and 92.9 The Game in Atlanta. Drew Butler joins us here on the Progressive Guest Line. Drew, good afternoon. Thanks for the time. How are you?
Yeah, great, guys. Appreciate the invite. Glad to be here. It's a little bittersweet, obviously, day after the Super Bowl. We got a long, long winter until football's back, but congratulations to the Seattle Seahawks. And Mike McDonald, guys, was a classmate of mine at Georgia. He was a GA for Coach Richt on the Georgia football team staff when I was there. So really happy for Mike Mack. Just incredible in his second season as a head coach.
Oh, my God. What was he like 20?
Yeah, it's awesome. I was actually reposting some clips last night. I did an interview with him 2 years ago before he got the Seattle head coaching job. And guys, he was a volunteer coach at the local high school in Athens to fulfill community service duties for his fraternity. That is how he got into coaching. And then he even says, he's like, I was stalking Todd Grantham, who is Georgia's defensive coordinator, just begging, hey, is there any way I could help out with the football team? And he worked for free for a year as a student assistant. He volunteered his time and then worked his way into a GA spot at Georgia.
Yeah, that's amazing. Let me read the tweet that you sent out after the voting was in for the radio audience here. At Drew Butler on X. Shame on the Super Bowl MVP voters. Shame. Jason Myers was the only player on both teams to score a point entering the fourth quarter. Super Bowl record for field goals made, outscored the Patriots himself. Not even a mention of his performance. Kenneth played well, though. Quotations, or I actually checked that parentheses, 0 points. Do you think Myers was robbed yesterday?
You know, I think if not then, with Jason Myers' performance in that game yesterday, that certainly warrants a conversation around worthiness of being the MVP. If not then probably never will happen, guys. So, you know, I just look at it on the whole from the performance that he had. And it's funny to me because that tweet got a lot of reaction, way more than I was expecting. Everybody just seemingly moves the goalpost when you talk about why a kicker deserves to be MVP. One of the most common arguments is, well, his longest was 41 yards. I mean, everybody could do that. That's like 90% conversion rate in the NFL. He just did his job. I'm like, but hold on a second. That game with those two defenses was a chess match. You absolutely knew special teams was going to be a vital part in deciding the outcome of that game. And when the Seahawks are getting down there deep in the territory and they're not able to convert on fourth downs, they're not able to get into the end zone, you have to take the points. And I think Mike McDonald knew that, leaning on his defense. And here's the real end game in a situation like that. If Jason Myers does miss that 41-yard field goal, that is a turnover. It is a huge momentum swing. The Patriots could have hypothetically scored in just a couple of plays later, and the entire game changes. Yes, he did his job. He also set records. He scored 17 points on his own. And of course, Kenneth Walker and the Seahawks offense got them in position to try the field goals, but he was perfect. He scored 17 points. I thought yesterday, specifically with how that game played out, Jason Myers certainly was worthy of being the Super Bowl MVP. And it is a shame that he was rarely mentioned, if ever, on the broadcast. It's funny, Kurt Warner, Westwood One, and of course, Super Bowl champion himself, he hit me back up on Twitter and said, hey, I just want to let you know we talked about him on the Westwood One broadcast. So at least he got some shine in that regard.
Well, here's the deal, and I forget about this every single year. Evidently, the fan vote is actually part of the criteria for the Super Bowl MVP, so you're allowed to vote during the game. We're talking now third quarter, late in the game. He was not even listed on the NFL's website for fans to vote for. He's the only guy who had scored in the game. Why are kickers even eligible to win the award then?
Yeah, and look, I mean, I had a ticket. I had him pre-flop, 100-1, put $10 on it, thought, hey, I think this could get into a shootout. I actually took him to make a 55-plus yard field goal as well. I thought in that stadium, a place Jason Myers is really familiar with, being in the NFC West. He's had a great season. He set the NFL record for points in a season. I thought that was a good play as well. Over 3.5 field goals. Guys, I did not see 15 punts coming in that game, but the way it played out with the Seahawks leaning on their defense, taking points when they knew they were going to have the opportunity to. And, you know, Mike Vrabel on the other side, he didn't necessarily go for it on fourth down as much as he had in the postseason. Jason Myers, 17 points, guys, 5 for 5 on his field goal attempts. That's a Super Bowl record. I 100% do believe, and this is putting my special teams bias aside, I 100% believe that he is just as worthy of an MVP winner in that game as Kenneth Walker was, or anybody on Seattle's defense, to be quite frank.
Yeah. He was never on stage after the game was over with. Nowhere to be found.
It's crazy.
Like you can't even, like not even part of the. So also let me ask you this, as again, somebody who kicked, and Drew Butler's our guest here now, Punt and Pass Podcast, 92.9 The Game in Atlanta. Well, first of all, if he misses all 5 field goals, Seahawks might lose the game outright. Think about that for a second. But also, like, as a guy who's kicking field goals specifically here in this game, and you're realizing, okay, we are incapable of scoring a touchdown right now. If I don't make these kicks and our defense suddenly allows a deep one, or there's a PI or whatever, we might be losing the game. So I don't know. You tell us, is the pressure mounting like every time that he's out there, despite them, quote, being chip shots?
Absolutely. They're just such high leverage moments in the game, big swings of momentum, and it is the Super Bowl. So, of course, the intensity's ratcheted up and you feel the added pressure. I think it's really good to kind of put this into perspective to all the VSiN listeners out there, because obviously everybody's watching these games through the lens of sports betting. Extra points, right? 33-yard field goals. Just think, if you've got a wager on a game and a kicker misses an extra point, you're sitting there going, oh my gosh, here we go. I mean, how could the kicker miss it? This is absolutely going to have a determining factor in the spread or the outcome of the game. He went out there, made 5 field goals, made both of his extra points as well. There are no gimmies. Jason Meyer just is that good, and he was given the opportunity to prove that he is the best at what he does yesterday in the biggest game, and he was the determining factor for why the Seahawks won Super Bowl 60.
Yeah. Here's also, you mentioned this earlier, people are moving the goalposts. A lot of the reaction that I saw is, well, actually, Mitch, because I said if it's not going to happen in this game, then it's never going to happen. They're like, well, hold on, you're wrong, because it could be, for example, like a 15-14 game, and all 15 points come from a kicker. They're all from 50 yards, and he hits the winner at the gun. Like, okay, is that how a Super Bowl is ever going to play out as long as we're alive? It's very unlikely. And then I think the comeback would be, I still don't think, after what we saw last night, Drew, that the kicker's going to get it, because they probably look at, oh my God, the quarterback with 90 seconds left got him in position to score and make the last field goal to win the game. And they won't get, regardless, I'm never betting the kicker ever again to win the award.
No, I think you bring up a great point. And to the people that say he could have been 5 for 5, all field goals, 50 plus, we'll take the winning lottery numbers as well. So let us know when you have those in terms of that script right there. But that is 100% the narrative right now, continuing to move the goalpost to say why a kicker shouldn't win MVP. If you just come out and tell me I don't think a kicker should ever win the MVP, that's fine. Sure. We'll agree to disagree. But I feel like everybody is sitting there saying, well, Kenneth Walker, he's the reason, 160 plus total purpose yards. I'm like, okay, well then is it because his offensive line played really well? Like, do you want to move the goalpost? We could do this all day with anybody on the field. We can shift the narrative and move the goalpost as to who gets credit for what success is had on the field. But in 1.2 seconds, which is snap to kick in the NFL, Jason Myers was perfect last night in Super Bowl 60, 17 total points. If not then, I totally agree with you, Mitch. It'll probably never happen.
Great stuff. Paulie and I were talking in the first hour, looking ahead to next year's Super Bowl, possibly plunking down a wager on a team to take it. It's a year out, so are we going to do it yet? Maybe not, but we did bring up the Atlanta Falcons, a team that you cover all the time. What do you make now of, is Penix going to be the guy? And did you love the hire of Stefanski?
Love the Stefanski hire. I really did. I think he's a great fit here in Atlanta. Even more so, I'm a big fan of getting Matt Ryan back in the building as the president of football. Of course, last week it was made official that Ian Cunningham is the new GM. But the biggest question mark around the Falcons right now, guys, is who's going to be the quarterback in week 1. Michael Penix coming off that ACL injury. Obviously, no need to rush him back. And then during Super Bowl week, the reports are out there that Kirk Cousins most likely going to be released. However, I think there is a real scenario after Kirk and his team kind of test the market, have some conversations. I'm looking at a team like Miami, or I'm looking at a team like Arizona. What kind of money would they throw at Kirk Cousins? I think with his familiarity with Kevin Stefanski going back to their days in Minnesota, there is a conversation to be had depending on what that dollar amount is. Kirk, would you come back for a year? Could you be our starting quarterback for the first maybe 8 to 10 weeks of the season? He knows the system. He likes Atlanta. He had a great finish to the 2025 season. He's at the point of his career, guys, where I think he's going to sit down with his family and be like, do you want to mess with Happy, right? We can go chase the money, go to a team with a new head coach, not have any idea of what the future holds. I'm on the back 9 of my career. So I think watch out for potentially that restructured contract for them to come back to the table and figure something out that could work for both parties to bring back Kirk Cousins.
Oh, man, that was terrific stuff. Follow him on X. He's at Drew Butler. Again, Punt and Pass Podcast, 92.9 The Game at Atlanta. Joined us here on the Progressive Guest Line. Thanks, Drew, and I appreciate you sticking up for your brethren there as a former kicker in the league. We appreciate it.
Absolutely, guys. Thanks so much. Have a great week.
Thanks, sir.
Back at you. I will tell you later on, again, I had Myers 250-1 to win the MVP. I had Kenneth Walker 15-1 after the Charbonnet injury. I will tell you who I think should have been the MVP a little bit later on in the show. Did they get it right? Am I pissed off that it was Myers?
For him not to be on the ballot list, it's crazy.
It's just.
But it's like you said earlier, we're going back to the Butker game. It's 250 for a reason.
It is.
It's hard to hit. And then you wonder if Walker doesn't go off, would they gone the defensive route?
It's a very strong night tonight in hoops. We'll discuss some of the marquee games next.
This is Follow the Money on VSiN.
Warren Sharp joins the program now, and he has every single Monday at this time throughout the entire NFL season. Sad day, going to bring a tear to our eye. He's on the Progressive guest line. The breakdowns over the entire season, the last 2 weeks for the big game were awesome. Your breakdown on the Cover 6, which I think started, maybe it was on this program or you maybe brought it up somewhere else on VSiN earlier. I know you were tweeting about it as well. It was such a great breakdown on how May was struggling against the Cover 6 against McDermott when he went to that in Week 15 for the Bills, and then teams were copying that. What did you notice yesterday with the game plan overall from McDonald and how he was utilizing that against May early on?
Yeah, you're right. It was right here on VSiN that I first started talking about it. Recorded some other videos as well. It was funny because they definitely were asking Drake May and his quarterback coach about Cover 6, and the Patriots spent a considerable amount of time preparing for the Cover 6 looks of the Seattle Seahawks. And what was very interesting is the first quarter of the game, Seattle used Cover 6 on 63% of Drake May's dropbacks, much higher rate than their season-to-date average, a higher rate than Sean McDermott was utilizing in the Week 15 game against the New England Patriots, where he used it on 50% of dropbacks. He limited Drake May on those passes, and Drake May, the answer I think from the Patriots was throw the ball underneath. 2 of the 3 completions that May had in Cover 6 in that first quarter were -3 air yards or less. So they were throwing the ball like really short. But what I think makes Mike Macdonald just a brilliant defensive coach is he also weaved in a tiny bit of single high, Cover 3. And he saw that Drake May was struggling against that. Now, Seattle plays cover a single high safety at the number 5 lowest rate. They predominantly play 2 high safety looks, which Cover 6 is one of those coverages. And so he saw that May was, probably prepared a lot for the Cover 6, and they were working on answers for that, but not really prepared for single high because Seattle never does it. So they Seattle leaned into single high and Cover 3 a ton, especially second and third quarter. In the third quarter of the game, they used single high on 70% of Drake May's dropbacks, really caused some confusion for him there, and led overall to a great day. Now, all told on Drake May's stats against Cover 6, -0.09 EPA per attempt, took 3 sacks, averaged very low air yards, held the ball for 2.9 seconds per dropback. So was not very good against the Cover 6 looks, but was even worse against the single high that he probably hadn't been preparing for as much, something that Seattle doesn't utilize as much. So great defensive effort by the Seattle Seahawks, great coach, great execution of the plan.
Yes, well said. And I thought McDaniels did a bad job. Do you think they abandoned the run early as well, New England?
It wasn't all that successful. Maybe they could have tried to be a little bit more balanced. I just feel like I thought the Seattle Seahawks were going to be the ones that I thought both teams were going to have to abandon the run to an extent.
Okay.
I was very surprised. One of the things that I got wrong on the Super Bowl was I thought we were not going to get a lot from Kenneth Walker on the ground against the New England Patriots, #1 ranked run defense. And what they were doing is a lot of the outside zone stuff, which we knew that they would, but I thought the Patriots would be better prepared for that. And that's where Kenneth Walker had most of his success on the ground. I definitely did think this was going to be a drop back passing game for both of these quarterbacks. Whichever one executed better in that game would probably be the team that advanced here. But, it's debatable about whether or not they did abandon it too early. The crazy part is you're watching that game. It's 9-0 at halftime. It's like, one score, and this thing's a game. Like, as dominant as Seattle has looked here, one score, and this thing's a game.
Yeah, and by the way, what did you think on that note then? Early third quarter, Vrabel's got the ball. I think there was like 9 minutes left, top of my head. He's got the ball, 4th and 1. He's inside his own territory. But come on, you're down. Maybe it's 12-0 at that point. Decided, no, I'm not going to go for it. I got to punt the ball back to Seattle. What'd you think?
I thought he should have gone for it. I thought that what coaches do too often is they play to the scoreboard. Oh, the scoreboard says 12-0. Then if I get 2 scores, I'm leading in this game. So, but think about the way the game's actually playing out. Like the odds that Seattle's going to be able to actually move the ball on your defense were actually decent. I mean, Seattle kept settling for field goals, which we anticipated, but they were able to move the ball. Your team wasn't able to move the ball. You get 4th and 1. In a must-have-it type situation, I think you got to be aggressive as early as possible in a playoff game, especially a Super Bowl.
Well, much was made about the schedule, and I know they went against some heavy hitters and big-time linemen, but do they have a Will Campbell issue? Top 5 pick, and he got undressed again.
He definitely did. It's a weak link. It's something that they can evaluate more. I mean, there's options there. Either he gets better or they can move him to a different position, slide him somewhere else on that offensive line. So I'm not certainly the best at evaluating talent. That's not really my forte, but I do think there are still some options for him. He's young. He's going to develop and get better, hopefully. So, hopefully it's not a total of bust pick for them.
For those who can only maybe Follow the Money or some other shows during the week, they don't have a chance to catch the Sunday morning show. You also joined us at 9:30 Eastern, one of 2 hits every single week throughout the entire year. And yesterday, you're like, during the break, guys, I got a banger, need to get on this one right away. You gave it out to the audience. And it was Jason Myers' combined yards of field goals over 66.5. And your breakdown was excellent, thorough, and it came through. It was like two kicks in, bam, there you go. So that was a great start overall to the game. Overall, how was your day with all the bets that you made yourself and that you recommended?
It was a great day. My single most profitable day of the year. Hit all of my stronger bets. I have 3 of my strongest bets, including my best bet for clients. We went 3-0 on those. One of them was, what will happen first? Will the Patriots punt or score? We said punt. I could not believe the punt was plus 112. I could not still believe on Super Bowl Sunday that the punt was, I think, minus 115 or minus 120 to be the first thing that they did. And that they had 8 punts before they finally scored a point. The Kenneth Walker receiving yards, which I'll tell you this, I mean, I was talking about this for a while on the show, and we talked about it on the Sunday morning about somebody else is betting the under because this line is still there. I gave it out. We like it. A lot of people are on it, but it's still there. This played out as the worst game state for Kenneth Walker receiving, and he still won the bet for us. The worst game state, what I was fearful of, is that the Seahawks were going to be dominating and would not need to throw the football much in the second half, which is how this game played out. But it was even worse for me than that because I also thought the Seahawks would not be able to run the football very well against the Patriots' #1 ranked run defense. And as a result, I thought if they want to get Kenneth Walker involved, they're going to have to do so through the air. They were able to run the football. So they were able to run and they didn't have to pass late. And despite both of those things massively going against us, he still got there. I mean, slightly different game state. He gets there even easier, but that one won. And then that Seahawks field goal yardage, that was an example of studying the board. Like, this was Saturday night that I'm looking at every single prop betting option that is out there and seeing that the odds for Jason Myers to have over 1.5 field goals, aka will he kick 2 field goals, had risen from like minus 161 to minus 200. So A, bettors are on the over thinking he's going to kick 2 field goals. B, the odds are in favor of him kicking 2 field goals, the probability there. And thus the yardage, I went back and looked, and when he has 2 field goals, he is going 72 yards or more in 13 of the 14 games where he had 2 field goals, and he had 2 field goals in 14 of 19. So it just made perfect sense to get on that. And that was my 3rd strongest. Overall, I was a 14-7 on the day, and it was an outstanding day. But I told you guys this right before we got on air, and I'm sure a lot of people out there who are watching at home right now felt the same way at the parties that they were at. You know, I had a bunch of people here. We had a bunch of food. And what I made sure to do before the game started, probably at 5:30 Eastern, so an hour before kickoff, I gathered whoever was interested, whoever kept asking me, what do you like about the game? I had them all get together and I said, I'll tell you about the game later all at once. I got everybody together at 5:30 and I said, this is how I think this game's going to play out. And this is what I've bet on the game. Give them time to like copy some of that, but also give them an understanding of like what I'm rooting for. This household, this is what we're rooting for to happen.
Very good.
But it sort of prepared them so that when all these punts are happening early, they're high-fiving because we got over 3.5 punts for each guy for the Patriots to punt before they score. Big drive, this first drive, are they going to punt or are they going to score? We're high-fiving once they end up punting the football. So, it's a bad game from an entertainment perspective, but if your bets are cashing and everybody's on the same page, you could still have a lot of fun, and we had a ton of fun with it.
That's why, to me, it's tough to actually have a boring Super Bowl. Now, we only have about a minute left, and right behind you is your preview magazine for this or book that you do every single year. So you pour your guts into the sport. Are you burned out today? Will you take a vacation before you dive in? Like, what's the game plan over the next week or a couple of weeks to a month?
I'm excited right now. I will rejuvenate, recharge. I'm probably going to be going out to the combine here in a couple of weeks, meeting up with some coaches and some other people that I know that are going to be out there. I do start writing the book not long after that. We do a lot of draft preview and prospect evaluation, not myself, but some of the other guys that are on my staff over at Sharp Football Analysis. So we get into that a little bit here. And then I do begin writing that book because we want to have that book published end of June, beginning of July. In order to do that, we have to get started pretty early. So it's fun now. It's a lot less stressful now.
Yeah. Okay. Very good. And make sure you follow him on X, by the way, at Sharp Football. Man, love talking to you throughout the entire season. Thank you. Great job. And enjoy a little bit of the off season if you can.
It's been a blast. I really enjoyed the segments with you guys. It's a lot of fun. Gonna miss them.
Appreciate it.
You're the best.
Warren was on the Progressive guest line. Turns out the Seahawks only had one real problem this year, and it didn't matter in the end. Do you concur? Is next. Patrick Everson joins the program now, senior reporter, does a great job on sports betting for Vegas Insider. You can follow him on X at @PatrickE_Vegas. What's up, Patty? How are you today?
I'm good. It is great to see you both. I always look forward to the day after because you guys are always kind enough to invite me in, and it's fun to talk about how it all went.
Well, what'd you find out overall? The handle. We talked to Mike Palm from Circa last Wednesday, and I said, well, what do we think? Sexy matchup so far? And he goes, maybe at one point the bettors will think it's sexy. So this only goes back a couple of days ago where it's like, I don't know about the handle. What have you heard overall around town in terms of what the popularity was like on the game?
Right. I think it was, to Mike's point, what I heard elsewhere as well is that it was a little soft on the game itself. But on Saturday night, Chris Andrews at South Point said that, but he noted that was just on the game. He said the props were bonkers. There was a lot of action on the Super Bowl props. So I don't think they were too, concerned about how it was going to land overall. I will say this, and I was really hoping this would pop up before I jumped on with the two of you, but anytime now this afternoon, Nevada's numbers are coming out, the handle and the hold percentage. They have not, from what I can see so far, they have not dropped yet, but they're going to drop any minute now. And obviously that's going to tell the tale, but I won't be surprised if it's a little soft, but and Nevada was, low relatively last year. I think it was as far as total handle, it was their sixth best handle and well off the record from 2 years ago. However, Nevada's hold last year was the best ever. It was something like, I think it was like $22 million or something like that. The most they had ever held, not as a percentage, but as just the sheer dollar amount. So I'll be interested to see this. It should be coming up sometime soon, sometime in these next 2 hours. I got to assume they're going to get this out before close of business from Carson City. So, and as soon as I see it, I'll pop it on X and hopefully you guys can look at it too.
Thank
you. We'll see. That'll tell the tale. But I think you're right. I think it wasn't seen as too sexy of a matchup. But again, the props seem to, most guys I've talked to have been like, well, the props still took quite a bit of action, even if the game itself, action on the game itself was a little soft.
You were at the Westgate when it happened. Explain the loud roar and how much money, if you can put it in perspective, how big of a swing it was that the holding call on Walker negated the touchdown.
It's massive, and it's funny, Paulie. I haven't been able to get. There are a couple of different odds makers got back to me on this, including at Caesars and at BetMGM and elsewhere, and nobody's kind of even given a general specific number of the swing, but they just noted it was a massive swing, and I got to think that was seven figures because how many anytime touchdown bets were made on Kenneth Walker III? How many perhaps anytime touchdown parlays might have been completed with Kenneth Walker III. How many bettors had the over either in straight bets or in parlays? And it's a ton because this is the Super Bowl and that's how it goes. And I mean, week to week in the NFL, the public is always going to be on favorites and over, and that would have gotten the favorite and over there. So it had to be just a massive swing. I got a pretty good comment from Craig Mucklow. He's the vice president of trading for sports. His hearts were in our mouths when Walker ran in the needless. It would have been a monumental swing for bettors, again, without getting super specific. But he called it a monumental swing, and I'm sure it was. And going back and forth with Tristan Davis, he's trading manager for BetMGM nationally, but he's based here in Las Vegas. He works out of Las Vegas. And what he said, it was a good day, mostly because back the Walker touchdown. He said swing, same game parlay, and anytime touchdown wise. So he said, so despite the favorite covering, we are pleased with the result. We will sign for that. But I'm not sure they would have signed for that if that touchdown had held and you'd gotten, Walker bets, Walker props cashing and tons of parlays and same game parlays cashing on that play as well.
Mm-hmm. Yes. I've lived here for 26 years, and I know you have a story what happened last week. I'd love to do an interview and find out. I can't believe the $250,000 bet on the coin toss at Caesars.
It's wild because like you and I were talking about a little bit off air before I jump. You might see like 25 or 50,000 that maybe a sports book or two will let people have on the we'll let a high roller or whomever have on the coin toss. They'll let them get carried away a little bit. But $250,000 on the coin toss is just, I mean, when I saw that drop yesterday, I was like, wow, that is a lot. I will say that was at Caesars and it was on heads, and obviously the better won and cashed out for like $246,000, whatever it was, before the game even kicks off, which is, I mean, you got to admit, that's a nice position to be in. But, yes. But on the flip side, Caesars also earlier, a few days ago, maybe like middle of last week, I think, they also took $100,000 play on tails. So while they still, if you put those two together, it's still a loser for the book. They did get $100,000 back on the bettor who took tails on the coin toss, which even then, that's to me just an unfathomable amount. But that's the Super Bowl in a nutshell for you.
It is, no doubt. I was surprised at the local spot here, Station Casinos, how many big bets came in on the Patriots. Were you?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that surprised me too, because I think I assume what the two of you heard is a lot of what I heard over the last 2 weeks, and that is that the Seahawks are real popular, certainly nationally, on the spread. And Caesars even told me at one point late last week, Thursday, Joey Fiesel, the head of football trading at Caesars, he said, usually what you see is the public either takes numbers around this number. You see the public laying the points with the favorite or taking the dog on the money line. Mm-hmm. And he said as late as Thursday, Friday, they were still seeing more money line dollars on the Seahawks as well as more spread dollars on the Seahawks. So he said that was kind of unusual. So even made those station bets jump out quite a bit. But yeah, it was, I'm glad around town people are getting down and money's making its way off of the strip and downtown and getting to some of these other books. But definitely that was a surprise. Definitely some big ones that Chuck Esposito and his team saw over there at Station.
So you talk to everyone and you dance around town on a regular basis. You did a great job when Jay Rude was retiring at the Mirage of the all-time stories, and guy came in, he thought he was homeless, and he took a $250,000 bet judging a book by its cover. Have you, as a manager, ever told you a strange request from a customer over the years, or a strange question? Because I told the story yesterday. When Cornegay was at the Westgate, a lady came up and said, "Are you going to show the game on television?"
Wow, I certainly can't beat that one. I can't off the top of my head think of those strange requests. I mean, the one you pointed out from Jay Rude was an all-timer. Like you said, it was for those who don't know, it was a guy came bag full of money and asked for a bet. I think it was on like a Colts Broncos game or something like that. And the gentleman was not, kind of rough looking, said, "Hey, how much can I get down on Colts spread?" And I mean, that's just the best story. And Jay Rude literally said, "Buddy, you can have as much as you want," and starts pulling out these stacks and stacks of $100 bills, and it was like $250,000 or whatever it was. And to their credit, they took the bet. Robert Walker was running the show there at the time for Resort Sportsbooks, and Jay said, "Hey, I think I may have made a big mistake here." But Robert's like, "Hey, you told him he could get it. Let's go and let's take the bet and see where we go." And the gentleman ended up, if I recall correctly, he ended up winning the bet. And then Jay Rude said never saw him again. He almost kind of vanished into thin air in the way that, although after a longer period of time, in the way that Duffel Bag Better did back in the several years ago.
That's right. Patrick, we always appreciate coming on for the aftermath of this big game. Thanks so much for popping on the show today. We appreciate it. Have a good football offseason, okay?
Absolutely. Keep an eye out soon. Hopefully on X, I'll have those Nevada numbers when they come out, which will help tell the story for sure.
Sure. And he's going to put those on Twitter as well. You can follow him. Does a great job at @PatrickE_Vegas. And he is a senior sports betting reporter for Vegas Insider.